All right, good evening. My name is Colton Gunner, and this is Kyle Smith.
Kyle Smith, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. All right, this is our environmental science final group project. Next slide, please. So we chose to do the University of North Georgia Dahlonega campus just because that's where we live and it's close in proximity. Next slide. So the location we picked is an area outside of Liberty Hall. The reason we picked this location is because there is a lot of potential for improvement in terms of looks and practicality. So for pros, it's an open area, it has a lot of green space, there's a tree and then plenty of vegetation, and there's a multi-level design, which means that there's stairs and a big hill right here going up towards the parking deck that we can add plenty of vegetation and other sorts of appliances on. Cons, there's erosion of dirt. As you can see here, there's a big trail from where people have been walking and cutting through that sidewalk or cutting around that sidewalk so they could get to their places faster. Limited landscaping. There's nothing really here. It's just really bland and not very unique. There's not any benches or seating, nothing for people to sit down and watch and just observe the natural beauty of the landscapes. There's utility equipment visible. As you can see here, there's this giant box that they use for powering Liberty Hall. It doesn't look good, and it just overall ruins the entire aesthetic of the location over here. As you can see, this is where we chose. It's right next to the parking deck in between Liberty Hall and this workout center. Next slide, please. So the first sud we chose was sud number 8, which provide for pedestrian priority connections. So concern for pedestrians is critical when designing a college campus. Sud number 8 encourages the development of sidewalks, roads, benches, street lights, and bike parking to prioritize the civilians using it. For pros, there's improved safety. It'll be really lit up and it just overall looks like a really urban place. So it'll automatically have a lower crime rate. Accessibility, it's easy to get to. There's plenty of trails, roads. It's just overall easy to get to. It encourages walking. It makes people want to get outside more. They feel safer. They feel like it's a cleaner environment. They feel like they don't have to worry about bugs or snakes, any of the wildlife coming after them. And overall, it just looks better. For cons, there is an increase in cost. So any of this you're gonna have to pay for. Space constraints, as you can see in the last slide, we're gonna have less space and less room to work with. There's gonna be maintenance required, so every couple years, any of these additions like sidewalks or street lamps, all of these you're gonna have to add later. Next slide, please. So here is the updated version of what we did. So from left to right, you can see we added a bench right here, which will increase an area for people to sit down and enjoy the view. We removed this utility box and planted a tree there so that generations to come can enjoy the shade of that tree. We have a stepping stone sidewalk. This stepping stone sidewalk is crucial to the environment of this location because it allows a greenway to be connected from this side to this side through the stepping stones. So humans are going to walk on the rocks or on the sidewalk that is placed in blocks, while the grass can grow in between them, which will completely eradicate this erosion and overall would save the soil in that location. Also, we added shrubbery right here, and really whenever these get bigger, hopefully you're not gonna be able to see the parking deck at all, at least not until you get to the second and third floor, just so it looks better as a whole. So yeah, next slide. Now Kyle will take over.
So the second SUD that I did was gray water collection, or it was more of the like water conservation stuff. So basically, outside of Liberty Hall, there is these locations where he circled, where I noticed that we could use these gray water systems that weren't there currently, and I'll just go into the details of the area. So they had these like storm drains. Some pros of storm drains is they're cost effective. So like you just put one down, we're good to then quick removal of water from the system. They just go in there and they get pumped out of there. Some cons of storm drains is oftentimes the water hits an impervious surface, which means that it doesn't go anywhere but down the concrete, and a lot of water wastage with that. All right, next slide. So here's my drawings, my beautiful drawings. So on the first one right there is, you can see the water hitting Liberty Hall on the side. From that, when that water hits the wall, it's gonna go into this little canal-like thing where it's all gonna collect. It's gonna be a little bit sloped, so it goes into it, and it's gonna flow into the cistern where it pulls up right here, and then it'll get transported out. All right, so I selected SUD 23 as my first SUD. It really goes over conserving water and how to implement it. It went over water conservation fixtures like low gallon flush toilets and urinals, that kind of stuff. Drip irrigation systems instead of like the normal sprinkler heads that we have. Gray water collections like I went into earlier, and then artificial wetlands to where you can put some of that excess water into the wetland and it would create an ecosystem via that way. And then you conserve water by utilizing all these aspects. So some potential changes for the SUD. So I'll go into some pros and cons. So its pros, it saves water obviously, and it's environmentally friendly because it saves water. However, there are some cons with it. Number one, construction. It's pretty expensive getting under there, putting all that stuff, applying it. It will be kind of pricey. However, there are long-term benefits. Number one, sustainable water collection. We can get water consistently and for a while because it rains all the time. Erosion control, not as much water around. And then water control, same thing. All right, next slide. So I'll go into one before and after. So the one that stood out to me the most was the stormwater management. Often in these areas, water sometimes pulls up and it doesn't get drained effectively. With the SUD in place, it would get drained at a better rate. All right. So if I were to try to convince Dr. Shannon to put this on campus, I would tell him first the upfront cost, but then I would tell him the benefits of our SUD and how that it would really improve the campus rather than just costing him money. All right. So the third SUD that I went into was solar panels. I thought this was a pretty easy way that could hit the mark on that. Right now, Liberty Hall doesn't really have much going on. It just has shaded windows and small energy efficient rooms. However, it doesn't have any solar energy, no passive solar, and no cooling methods. All right. So here's my drawing. And pretty good. So you can see the sun hitting the solar panels, doing the solar panel thing, and then this was the roof ventilation system. I think it was called like that attic ventilation system or something, where wind flows in and it'll cool the attic that way. And forgot to mention, for the first SUD, that electrical box that was there, it would get removed because we have the solar panels. I chose SUD as my second, just because I mentioned earlier, it's pretty quick, pretty easy to figure out. So what's into it is solar, passive solar, ventilation systems, and heating systems. All these kind of relate to energy usage. And so really what SUD 17 wants you to do is just utilize your energy conservatively or utilize it better. So some changes. So some pros and cons. So obviously energy savings. You're not going to be paying for fuel from the grid. You're going to be paying only just like a little bit of that. But the cons is that it is pricey. Solar panels do cost some money, but you can recoup your investment over time. How does it affect sustainability on campus? So reduce energy consumption. We wouldn't be using as much energy. And then waste reduction, again with the energy. I'll go into one before and after. So energy use, like we won't be as dependent on the grid. So let's say there's a storm or a blackout or something like that. That wouldn't really affect us that much because we're not as interdependent on the grid, and we got that dependence on solar. All right. And so presenting this to Dr. Shannon, I think would be pretty easy. You would just mention the costs and how long it would take to recoup and the energy savings from there on. And I did some calculations, and it was about 5.5 years to get their money back, assuming a building uses like 300,000 kilowatt hours. But yeah, you would see that money come back at a quicker rate.
Okay, overall, 3 SUDs we chose, or we would choose, were in relation to Liberty Hall. The first SUD was fixing a walkway that people use by putting a greenway there. It increased the ecosystem services that were provided, along with increasing the aesthetics of it. The second SUD we chose was a gray water collection system, along with water efficient appliances. The water savings on rainwater is significant, along with the water savings from appliances. Finally, the third SUD we chose was solar panels and a roof ventilation. For Liberty Hall. This would dramatically reduce the amount of fossil fuel based electricity that would save tens of thousands of dollars. These are our sources, and thank you for watching.